Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's video. I say afternoon because it's 4 o'clock because I got up at noon. I finally got some sleep, thank goodness. If you've watched some of my more recent videos, you will know that I was having a lot of trouble sleeping. And I finally was able to sleep from about 1:30 a.m. to noon, and I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna go with it, and I have a lot of energy, so today I'm gonna be doing a lot of video stuff. In today's video, I'm gonna be doing a book review, and by a review, I mean I'm gonna be talking about it and talking about what I learned from it, and recommending it to you, because pretty much every book that, well, not every book, but most books that I read, I'm like, damn, son, this is some knowledge going on right here. I need to share this. So, this book I finished about 2 days ago, maybe 3, and it is called Curious Behavior, Yawning, Laughing, Hiccuping, and Beyond by Robert R. Provine. And I'm just gonna check when the publication date was. So this book was published in 2012. If you guys can hear some weird noises in the background, that's because I'm sitting here with my window open to make it feel like I'm going outside without actually going outside, because actually going outside is not my favorite thing. And so I'm basically just gonna read the table of contents to you, which there is 13 chapters, and then also an introduction and an appendix. And then there are notes, references, acknowledgments, and index. There is a chapter on yawning, laughing, vocal crying, emotional tearing, whites of the eyes, coughing, sneezing, hiccuping, vomiting and nausea, tickling, itching and scratching, farting and belching, prenatal behavior. And some of these seem like just regular normal stuff, and some of them seem like, really? You decided to talk about farting and vomiting? Interesting. But I actually found this book super, super interesting. It talks about how yawning is very contagious, as in that, you know, when you yawn, then a lot of other people yawn, and it also talks about the reasons that you actually yawn. Apparently, the concept, the theory that you yawn because you have not enough oxygen and too much carbon dioxide is actually wrong, which I learned something new because I did not know that. And you are more likely to yawn in the evening and right when you wake up, and then stretching usually comes with that, but it doesn't have to. And he actually gives you some experiments that you can do at home by yourself. Also, apparently yawning is contagious from reading and listening to people talk about yawning. So when you read the chapter about yawning, you yawn a lot. And if you yawn listening to me talk about this, then drop a like or something, just because it'd be cool to know. It talks about the sound of a lot of these things that happen. He talks about the sound of yawning, laughing, crying, coughing, sneezing, and hiccuping. And about how humans are the only species that have the kind of laughing that we have, and so it might have evolved from us being able to have language, and because we're bipedal, so we stand upright, unlike apes, we have the ability to like laugh with all of our thoracic cavity, and they can't somehow, like they can laugh, but it's more of a panting sound. And he actually did an experiment where he recorded the sound of an ape laughing compared to a human laughing, played them, and had people guess what they were. And so other mammals do have sounds that they produce when they are happy or playing, but they're not the same as human laughter. So that's super interesting. And vocal crying is contagious in that it's definitely very contagious for babies, but it also is the way of communicating when you need something but you can't talk. It's kind of one of the beginning parts of like language a little bit. And then people don't do it as much when they figured out how to say what they want. So, you know, when you start learning how to talk, you stop crying as often because you know how to ask for what you want instead of just being upset about it. Emotional tearing is definitely contagious, and the concept of the whites of the eyes was also super interesting because he talked about how it was a way of communication. So when you look at someone's, and also apparently humans are the only mammals that have like actually white scleras, which is the clinical term for the whites of your eyes, I believe. And so we are able to use them to communicate with each other. If the white of your eye is yellow, it usually means that you are sick or an older person, and so we can look at each other and just know that. Also, if the white of your eye is more red, it can often mean that you are sick or that you just have some sort of issue going on, like you're overstressed, you didn't sleep enough, you may be having an issue with certain kinds of alcohol or drugs, and the medication that people use to get rid of the redness in their eyes, he says, is actually more of a cosmetic thing than it is really a medicine, because it doesn't hurt you to have the whites of your eyes more red. It just means that the blood vessels are bigger, and the thing that you put in them to make them less red is just contracts the blood vessels. So that was very interesting also. And then coughing is, like, even if you don't mean it to be and you're not intentionally doing it, sometimes you don't even notice it, but coughing happens both because you're sick, but also you cough more when you're bored, not even on purpose, it just happens. And apparently, according to the book, that sneezing is started because of a tickle in your nose, but it doesn't actually help you dislodge the stuff in your nose as much as blowing your nose does. In terms of hiccuping, you actually hiccup way more before you're born than you ever do after you're born. And once babies, prenatal babies, develop the ability to hiccup, the probability of them hiccuping at least once a day is like almost 100%, which is super interesting. And then when you're very young, up until the age of, when you're like a child, you hiccup like a lot, and then around the age of 20, the amount of times you hiccup per year declines rapidly until you reach your 40s. And then when you're in your 40s, people who are male and have had thoracic surgery, which is basically, your thorax is basically where, between the area, it's like your abdomen. Your thorax and your abdomen are pretty much the same thing. Just one of them is more scientific. If you have a surgery there and you're a male over 40, you are more likely to have hiccup bouts. And when you get the hiccups, and it's just a regular kind of hiccups and not a super prolonged period of hiccups, you usually have less than 7 or more than a number that I don't remember exactly, but I'm going to guess it was around 50. So you either have a very few amount of hiccups and then they go away, or you end up having a lot of hiccups. And then vomiting and nausea are techniques that are used to, if they're contagious because, like, contagious in a social way, not in a, like, one person got the flu and then gave the germs of the flu to someone else, but as in, if you see someone throw up, you are more likely to start feeling sick and actually throw up because of someone else doing it. Because if you are in a social situation, it will save you from either, if they got poisoned, which is what the like evolutionary idea of it is, if they ate something that was bad and they got poisoned, this is your body's way of trying to remove the poison before it affects your body. And that way, because being that contagious, helps the people around that person to also remove the poison or keep them from imbibing the poison, which is kind of like a survival strategy. It doesn't always work now in modern times because poisons are like, you know, very bad, and like kill you fast, but stuff like food poisoning, that kind of thing, vomiting is very helpful for that. And in the chapter about farting, he talks about this guy who was just taught himself or somehow figured out how to just use his butt to suck in a bunch of air and then expel it again, and he learned how to play music and then recreate animal sounds, and he actually got a job as a performer doing that, and that's how he earned his living. He also did tricks where he would suck up water through his butt and then shoot it far distances and put out candles with it and stuff. And I was just like, wow, cool, you do you, man. And this wasn't even a super recent thing. It was in the 1800s when this guy had this thing, and I was like, wow, that's cool. I don't think I've ever met anyone with that talent, or if I have, they did not share it with me. But yeah, it was just really interesting. I kind of want to learn more about this specific guy because I was just like, that's super weird. And then in terms of prenatal behavior, they were talking about how the movements that you make in the womb at first aren't even brought to you by your brain. They're specifically from impulses from your spinal cord. I mean, some of them, like, later on they are, but some of the first ones, they did some experiments with chicken embryos, so don't worry, none of this was done on human babies. But they did some experiments with chicken embryos where they made it so that the spinal cord wouldn't connect to the brain during the maturation process inside the egg. And the random flailing around that happens, like at this point, if in a human, a mother wouldn't be even able to feel it yet, but it just is an impulse of energy from the spinal cord. It's not actually directed by their brain. Now, eventually in the womb, some actions become directed by your brain, like sucking your thumb or doing different stuff, like grabbing their feet and stuff, because at a certain point, the brain does start controlling the movement. And, I mean, I talked about babies having hiccups already, but it's still super cute. Like, that's adorable. Babies, the hiccups, if they're not mad about it and they're just having hiccups, they're super cute. And also, you can yawn and I think sneeze prenatally. I'm not sure about the sneezing one, but definitely yawning. So, I just found this book very interesting. And, I'm just going to read the front and the back of it to you. Robert R. Provine, he's the author, is a professor of psychology and neuroscience at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And then the little summary in the front cover. Some of it's covered by tape, so I can't read all of it, but Robert Provine boldly goes where other scientists seldom tread, in search of hiccups, coughs, yawns, sneezes, and other lowly, undignified human behaviors. Upon investigation, these instinctive acts bear the imprint of our evolutionary origins and can be uniquely valuable tools for understanding how the human brain works and what makes us different from other species. Many activities showcased in curious behavior are contagious, but none surpasses yawning in this regard. Just reading the word can make one succumb. Though we often take it as a sign of sleepiness or boredom, yawning holds clues to the development of our sociality and ability to empathize with others. Its inescapable transmission reminds us that we are sometimes unaware, neurologically programmed beasts of the herd. Other neglected behaviors yield similar revelations. Tickling, we learn, may be the key to programming personhood into robots. Coughing comes in musical, medical, and social varieties. Farting and belching have import for the evolution of human speech, and prenatal behavior is offered as the strangest exhibit of all, defying postnatal logic in every way. Our earthiest acts define Homo sapiens as much as language, bipedalism, tool use, and other more studied characteristics. As Proving guides us through peculiarities right under our noses, he beckons us to follow with self-experiments, tickling our own feet, keeping a log of when we laugh, and attempting to suppress yawns and sneezes. Such humble investigations provide fodder for grade school science projects, as well as doctoral dissertations. Small science can yield big rewards. I got this book out from my library because, well, actually my mom picked it out for me because I was sick, so I didn't go to the library because germs are bad, and we're avoiding them. At the time it was open, right now they're closed, but if you have the ability to, I would definitely get some books from the library. Right now, because of the coronavirus and stuff, my school is closed, and so they're not doing online classes either, so this is what I'm doing for myself so that I stay learning. And I definitely recommend that you check out Curious Behavior because it's super interesting, and even though there's stuff you don't really think about, because you don't really think about it, it provides you with a lot more information. So, yeah.